As Donald Trump continues to campaign through his home state of New York, his fundraising event tonight is opening up an old wound for residents where a gruesome hate crime took place 8 years ago. MSNBC's Cal Perry is in Patchogue. Cal, good to see you. You've been hearing from Stop Trump protesters. What's their biggest concern about tonight's event there?
Well, people are angry and they're worried that this could turn into something ugly. And I'll give you an idea of sort of what's happening this morning. We're in the innermost sort of perimeter of what's becoming a layered perimeter system by the police here in Patchogue. We've also seen Suffolk County police as well. That's where the event's going to be taking place at the Emporium. And as we look further down the street, you see a bit of a local media gaggle starting to occur. At the end of that street, Jose, that's where Marcelo Lucero was killed. In 2008, an Ecuadorian immigrant, he was jumped by a group of young white kids from another town, and he was stabbed to death. And people here are angry. Yesterday, we heard from local community leaders who are organizing the protests. Here's what they had to say.
We are sickened by the fact that Donald Trump is going to be here in Patchogue, spreading his hate-filled campaign. Donald Trump has attacked women, Muslims, Mexicans, immigrants, pretty much anyone he can, and his hate-filled message just fans the flames of bigotry that led to the violence that led to the death of Marcelo Lucero.
It feels like Donald Trump, who's going to win the New York primary, is doing a victory lap on the grave of Marcelo Lucero. I think that's unacceptable. It brings hatred back into this community, and I have no doubt that his words will inspire the next generation of Jeff Conroys to go out and commit acts of violence against immigrants.
And that's really the story here. It's a story of a town that felt like it's come a long way and healed old wounds. And then as we walk here, it's wounds that are now being reopened by the sight of police and barricades and what we expect to be thousands of people getting in line very early here, dealing with that security, dealing with those undercover police officers. Certainly people hope not, but potentially protesters facing off with Trump supporters, Jose.
And Cal, let's talk a little bit about that town, because it's done so much in the last 8 years to try and heal the wounds of what happened there 8 years ago. Let's remember that Marcelo Lucero was walking in the streets and he was attacked by a gang of thugs, these guys that used to call what they did, which is go after immigrants and beat them. They used to call it beaner hopping. They used to go after jornaleros, day laborers, and then poor Marcelo Lucero was the victim. So much has been done in these last 8 years to get over those wounds, and that's why I think it's important that we bring this story up, because this is a community that has suffered so much and has gotten so much done in these last 8 years.
You know, it's that slur that you used that was used in the court, and the people of this town heard that, and it was framed, frankly, because it was so as sport. This was a group of thugs, of a gang of young white kids from out of town who came in, and as sport, they hunted down an immigrant and they killed him. And that brought up a horrible sort of situation for a few years in this town where you have a very diverse community, and the town just felt like it was getting to the point where it was over that brutal crime, and now Donald Trump, and that's why people are so upset.
Yeah, a horrible situation, but a very real one that they've fought so hard to deal with. Cal Perry, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks for being with me.